Hello and welcome to Banya Chat. My name's Thomas Barnes and I am once again here with the founder of Banya, Nyasha Gwatidzo. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hello, Tom. Nice to meet you again. We're back to you again.
Yeah, we are indeed. I love interviewing you, love talking to you.
Yes, lovely. Thank you.
So today we're in at Banya. Today we're just going to be talking and looking a little bit more in depth at one of the different types of fostering. So there's many different types of fostering, but today we're going to be looking at parent and child fostering. So Nyasha, would you like to give a brief explanation of what is parent and child fostering, please?
Yes, parent and child fostering comes about when there's some reason why the parent or the parents can't look after their children. And there's so many reasons why. I can talk about that later, about why this comes about. But, and it could be a pregnant girl underage, it could be an adult who has got issues. For some reason, someone has made a decision that they need to be assessed for them to be able to look after the children, whether they can or whether they can't. And that is what parent and child placement. And it's normally, for years, it always used to be just a mother and baby. But over the years, that has changed. It's become the two parents. It could be the dad, it could be the mother, all sorts of permutations of the people who need to be cared in this way. And for me, I really see it as an assessment. The carers are assessing them whether they can parent their child and they can go to their own in the community and thrive, or they can't do it, and the local authority have got to make plans for the baby or for the children.
Lovely. So parent and child it's different to fostering then. Although it comes under fostering, it's not fostering. It's not taking care of someone per se.
No, it's definitely it's not the our foster care are actually taking care of the adults or the teenager the teenagers who are parents. It's about monitoring them, support much more in the background. They show them or teach them this is how you birth your baby, and then they let them go, and then they monitor them to see that they're doing it rightly. This is how you feed your child, and they monitor them. And if your child is crying, you need to go to them and comfort them. You know, how often do you feed your child? They show them how to do it, changing the nappies, even really all the basic needs of looking after a child or a baby. But they're really in the background to support and monitor and make an assessment, and to keep a log of significant issues which they will need to report to the local authority. It's normally 12-week piece of work. It's very, very specific, and it's normally instructed by the courts.
Right. So you're saying that it's not the carer isn't actually caring for the parent and child. It's teaching them. For example, like they may have come from a different a difficult background,
Yes.
and it's about teaching them how to look after their child and making sure that the child is safe more than anything.
Yes.
And all right, so and you say, so what other kind of support is given? Do they provide then?
The parent and child are given all sorts of support while they're in the foster home. You know, like food, and they normally they come with their own allowance, but it depends on the specific issue, because some of the children who need a parent and child are actually in care themselves, so they're actually under the fostering regulations, so the same fostering regulations apply. And whereas if someone is an adult and they're coming for another reason, 21 or 51, we've had a man who was 51 with his girlfriend who was 17. That's a different kind of support, an arrangement, because they're not being fostered. They need to be assessed to see whether they can parent their child.
Right.
So it can be quite confusing, because sometimes you are looking after a mother and baby, or a father and baby, but if they're in care themselves, you're actually fostering them. You're fostering both of them.
Right. So if you're fostering the child, the young person, and that young person becomes pregnant, then you're both fostering that child and you're fostering the baby.
Yes, but the baby is very interesting, because just because the mother is in care, it doesn't mean the baby is in care. They're in care by default because their mother is in care.
Right.
Yes. So the baby, most of the time, they're in court trying to work out whether the mother can look after, or then they're involuntary arrangement. The mother has agreed for them to be with them, so it's a voluntary arrangement.
Right. So, and you said like they're in court, so it's an assessment of the skills of the mother, so whether they can look after the child.
Yes.
And you mentioned that it's not just children, it's adults as well. So it can be any age.
Yes, we are seeing more and more adults. I would say the average age has been about 31, I think, in terms of the referrals we're getting. Right. But we've had, in terms of our history, we've had children as young as 12 have a child. And in terms of the adults, we've had a 51-year-old man.
Wow! So it can be can be any age.
Yes, from 12 to 51. So that's how I would say it. So the average is in the middle.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so like and it's all about making sure that the child is safe, and the parents are responsible.
Yes.
Right. So the role of the carer is not to. Is it to care for the child, or is it to how would they would they interact with the mother and the parents and the child?
Sometimes the carer can't actually, it depends on each case, but I know of cases where the carer cannot leave the parent with their own child, and during the night the child actually sleeps, the baby actually sleeps with the carer. That's when it's very, very involved. When the local authority are really quite concerned about the safety of the baby while they're doing the assessment. Right. But that is very rare. Most of the time, the parents have their child in their room, and they are there to look after their child. At the beginning, the carer shows them how to do it, but they're just monitoring. Are they following the instructions I told them last week? Are they still, are they being consistent with the baby? You know what I mean? They're just checking that they're monitoring them, supporting them. And of course, they'll babysit for the baby. If the mother wants to go out, it's agreed that they can go out, or the father wants to go out, and they come back at a given time. And most of our placement, I'll say 80% of our such placement, the placements break down actually, because the parents don't want to be living in a foster home. So the parent is left holding the children, the foster carers, and the local authority will have to make long-term plans. That's when they prepare them for adoption most of the time. Or a family member is assessed whether they can have the baby from the parents' families, all sorts of permutation. But meanwhile, that baby remains with the carer or those children who were being in this parent and child. Because some parents don't really want to be taught how to look after their child. They don't want to be assessed. So they tend to leave and don't come back. And literally the carer is left holding the baby.
Well, it's sad that they feel like they have to do that.
Yes, very sad.
So the role is more of is less like a carer, but it's more like an auntie or grandma, just to be there and
Yes,
support them,
definitely.
so that they can care for the baby if the parent needs to do their own thing. It's just a backup kind of thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, if the carer has got to end up looking after that child 24 hours, then it's no longer, it's gone beyond, it's not the carer who's being assessed. You know what I mean?
No, of course.
The situation has failed.
Yeah. So if the situation fails, then I'm guessing that it would no longer be for a parent and child placement. It'd have to be considered either a fostering placement or going up for an adoption placement.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, fair. Well, okay. And we said earlier there's you wanted to go talk about the different reasons that this happens. I'm sure there's many reasons why.
Yes, it's very. I mean, with young, with young girls like the one which we was 12, and she was groomed. She was sexually abused by a family friend, and when she came into care, we did not know she was pregnant, and was only a few weeks later. So it's from sexual abuse to older people, adults. It's normally learning difficulties, mental health difficulties, drug and alcohol abuse. And the part of the assessment is about whether in her rehabilitation, they're not using drugs. Can they continue to look? Are they going to be fit enough? That tend to be the main reasons why the such placements happen. And with some of them, if there's no abuse at all, we've had two teenagers who in love underage, and they both in care, and the girl fell pregnant, and the local authority decided to put them together in a parent and child placement to assess them. They're teenagers. I think they were 14 and 12 or something. But can they do it? And the plan was, can they do it when they're 18? So that's a very long placement. It's because they were in care themselves.
Right.
So, that was a happy ending. They were very competent. And in the end, they had their own flat, and they moved with their baby to their own flat. Actually, I think before they were 18, I think they moved when they were 17. And they had that support from their foster carer. And and really they were in foster care because they all had their own issues while they were in care. They were full care order to the local authority. Yeah. And the other example I gave of the 12-year-old, we found out she was pregnant when she was removed from the house due to child protection issues because of this sexual abuse which was going on in the family. And a few months later, we found out that she was expecting, and she was a full care order to the local authority. She could never go back home, and she left our foster care when she was 18 with a baby. We were 5. Fantastic outcome. Very competent girl, and at the beginning she went back to school. The foster care babysat for her. And then later on, she took a child to nursery and left when she was 18. And the foster carer has remained the grandmother.
So those both.
There's some really happy ending. It's very rewarding piece of work to do.
So they can be very positive outcomes to this, and it's the reasons may start off quite dreary and dire, but the outcomes can be very positive.
Yes, Yes.
And it's not and it's more the assessment is not a judgment, it's just a measuring the ability
Yes.
of the parent and whether they're able to cope with
Yeah.
looking after the child and teaching them the skills
Yes.
and giving them the experience.
Yes. Yes. That's
Because
it. Yeah.
like like you said that it could be a someone as young as 12, which is from such horrible circumstances, unfortunately, but they teach them and they learn them. But then it could also be like you said, that the older gentleman who is, you say 51.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
he
has
may
died.
not have had any children before, so it's all about
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
teaching and learning experience
Yeah. He
more
had
than
mild learning difficulties. That's why they were concerned about them having a child. Mm.
right. Yeah, right.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's
If
about the
it,
ability of the person, not
yes, even if it looks sad when the mother walks away, but when our carers have done loads of bridging placements in that the child has gone to foster to being adopted, it's for the child in question, it's a very happy outcome. It's very sad that the mother or the parent walked away, but at the end of the day, it's really quite rewarding to see that child preparing them for adoption and they end up with the forever family. It's just so rewarding as well.
yeah.
Mm.
So I'm just going to. I'm sure we've got a few questions in the chat that I think would like answering. Well, that's a good question. What is there like a maximum duration of a parent and child placement?
The local authority, when they are seeking this assessment, is normally 12 to 16 weeks. The local authority would expect the carer and themselves and Banya's support to have made an assessment whether the mother is gonna or the parents are gonna do it and that they can thrive in the community. But we have got this situation, like I tell you, with the 12-year-old. She was 12, she was in care herself. So she remained in that situation for longer than normal. She wasn't under this kind of judge or anyone. Oh, she was being monitored, and we were monitoring and supporting her and looking at these issues, whether she can do it all by herself. But it was a bit longer. So in terms of normally, it is 12 to 16 weeks. But we have these oddities we find ourselves with. Life is never perfect.
No, it certainly isn't perfect. And so about 3 to 4 months, but I'm just thinking, but it's dependent on the situation, of course. So what if, for example, you could tell the parent could have the ability, but it would take longer than the 12 to 16 weeks that you're suggesting. Would that be extended for them personally?
I think if everyone feels that they should be given more time to get there, I think that will happen. I really do think that will. But if everybody is in agreement, I think that will happen.
Because the outcome is you want the child to stay with the parents and go on and be happy and be safe.
Yes, we had a situation. It wasn't that the assessment hadn't finished, but the local authority wanted to rehouse the mother somewhere else rather than where she was before. And I think she was 31 years old. And so they stayed longer, I think for another 3 months with our carer because they didn't have anywhere ready to go. But they were no longer under any assessment. They didn't have anywhere to go. And everyone was happy for them to live in the community. The assessment had finished.
Right. As another question. Oh, this one ties in nicely to one of my question that I was going to ask. What if I have concerns about the baby's safety?
Yeah, that is really one of the things as a foster carer you're looking at, whether your child must remain safe. And you have got to really, like anybody else, you've got to report to Banya, you've got to report to the placing social worker. There's so many people you need and in an emergency, Banya there 24 hours. It doesn't matter, we're open 24 hours. If you're concerned about the babe's safety, you need to inform. And some of it, we've told our carers to phone the police.
Right. So it really sometimes in that emergency situation.
Call the police. We can't be there quick enough. Police will be there.
You've got to look out for the baby, number one.
Number one.
Yeah. So, and that ties into one of the questions that I was going to ask, which is, what does Banya expect of the carer? Like, what are the
top on the agenda? They've got to keep the children safe. The children. And if the child, the mother is a child, everyone has got to be safe. If the child, the parents are adults, even the adults needs to be safe. But the child, that's the reason why they're there. They're assessing the safety of the child. Is a child going to be well enough to be looked after in the community by these people, the parents? So that is really, that's one thing we expect. We expect you to support the care, the parents and children in your placement. We expect you to keep a log of what's going on, because that's needed by the authorities, and those logs might be taken to court as part of evidence about what happened, what was your assessment, what did you see? Because that's what, if she didn't feed the child, or the child had a nappy wrap, you need to log it. It's called a daily log. You need to keep, and you need to I really do think we expect you to continue with your training development to understand why parents and child need such placements, and to develop yourself as a carer, because not one family, you might have a parent and child placement today, and next week when this one has gone, you have another one, but they come with different needs, different diverse background from the one you had before. So you've got to start again, build relationships.
And I'm guessing that teaching, that learning is from both parts. You've got to learn about them, and they've got to learn about you.
Yes.
And they've got to trust you to teach them.
Yes. And to keep being consistent with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another good question. Can I be approved as a parent and child foster carer only?
Oh, that cannot be right. Yes, you can on one level if that's what you really want to specialize in. But we can't approve you for parent and child only, because what happens if the child is left, you need to be approved for the range. Yeah, 0 to 18. And so you say, it's a bit odd, because what happens, but if you are parent and child only, you are approved for children.
That's true. I mean, you do have a child in the placement.
Yes.
So technically, like, even though you can say that you identify as you specialize in the parent and child, but if in certain circumstances the parent goes away, then you have to be trained and prepared to look after that child.
Yeah, you can't say, oh, I only one parent and child. Now I've got a baby. Can the baby move? Because that baby most likely would have formed some form of relationship with you. Yeah, so we need to keep everybody safe and consistent. There's no reason to be able to move a child in that situation, because you've been living with them anyway.
That's true.
And as I said, 80% of these placements, the parents normally walk, so you're left with the baby. But parents and child at Banya is one of our specialism. You can definitely say from day one, that's what I want to specialize in. And children with special needs, some people only want to look after children with special needs, but it doesn't mean that within the range of 0 to 18, but it doesn't mean that you cannot have a child without special needs. You're approved as a carer.
Yeah. So if you're approved as a carer, even though you may specialize in parent and child, you are still approved as a carer for children from 0 to 18.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely.
That's interesting. So I just want to round this up. What would you say to someone that may be considering or have an interest in becoming a parent and child carer?
Oh, I would definitely encourage them to do. There's such a need for such placements at the moment. I'm not sure why, whether, I don't know whether it could be due with COVID and domestic violence. There's a lot of these referrals coming through to Banya, and it's such a rewarding piece of work to do. And I definitely think that you need to have a bigger room for the parent and child. They can't fit in a single box room. You need to have skills to be able to write things down. Writing things down is really important. You need to be able to be patient and have empathy to teach someone to look after their baby. It's quite a sensitive it's a sensitive area because people have got such strong views about how babies should be looked after. And if you're there to teach, to monitor, and to make sure that the child is remaining safe, and you are making an assessment. And that can be quite difficult, especially when you really can see that this is not going to work, but you have built a good relationship with the mother. And for you to be saying, actually, this baby's best interest without the mother, it's a very, very difficult decision to be part of. You're going to be part of that decision. It's not you who's going to make the decision. It's the local authority and the courts who will make those decisions, but you're going to be part of that assessment. Your evidence and your assessment is going to be taken into account. So as I said earlier, that people coming from health and social background experience, people with caring backgrounds, teachers, social workers, youth workers, probational officers, they tend to be really good because they're already aware of this health safety, keeping everyone safe. They're already aware of writing things down. So I think they're really, really important things to think about if you're considering, am I good at writing things down? Am I good at teaching somebody who might be a bit confused or don't know how to look after their children? Am I patient? Because I think you need a lot of patience and resilience, because sometimes you might have to repeat things several times before someone, especially if you're working with someone who's got learning difficulties, the parent, they've got learning difficulties or they've got mental health difficulties. You really need to be extremely patient.
Well, thank you for your insight, and thank you for sharing so much.
Well, thank you very much. I always love to, I can talk about this forever.
I know it's your passion, and you're very good at what you do. I mean,
yeah.
you are the founder of this company. You obviously love it. You love children and you love caring.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.